Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Schultz coming to you live from the office. I want to take a moment to go over the review with you. That way, if you have any questions, and it's like after school hours or something like that, or maybe you're reviewing early for the test, you found this video early. That way you can start reviewing for the test and do well on it. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing my video and share my screen. That way we can get started. Okay, so in Unit 5, we covered a few different topics. First, we talked about logic with our conditional statements and patterns and all that jazz. Then we started talking about slope and writing the equations of lines and different things in that regard. And then we talked about parallel lines cut by transversals. So this test is going to be over all three of those topics. And so our review covers all three of those topics. So let's look at the first bit. They ask us to find the next item in the pattern. So we want to see if we can figure out what's going on. Let's see. We go from $2.25 to $3.75. So right there, that looks like we're adding $1.50. Then we go from $3.75 to $5.25. Again, we're adding $1.50. So let's add $1.50 to our $5.25. So 50 cents would be 75, so $6.75. Okay. Number 2. We go from 6:15 a.m. to 6:45 a.m. to 7:15 a.m. So what are we doing each time? So it looks like here we're adding 30 minutes. Then we add 30 more minutes. So let's add 30 minutes again. That's going to make us end up at 7:45 a.m. Okay, for each conjecture, we have to determine if it's true. If it's false, then we have to give a counterexample. So number 3, if an angle is acute, then it measures 45 degrees. We have to stop and ask ourselves, if it's acute, if an angle is acute, does it have to be 45 degrees to be acute? No. So this would be false. And so then we've got to give a counterexample. Now, what does acute mean? Acute means that it's between 0 degrees and 90 degrees. So I can pick any angle between 0 and 90. I like the angle about 77 degrees. That's my counterexample. 77 degrees is acute also. Okay. So for the next several questions, we're going to be dealing with this conditional statement. If an angle measures 26 degrees, then it is acute. First, we have to get our hypothesis. So remember, the word if signals your hypothesis is coming up. So an angle measures 26 degrees is our hypothesis. And then for our conclusion, we want to look for the word then. So that means it is acute is your conclusion. Wrong color. Okay, so we have to take this hypothesis and this conclusion and write a converse, inverse, and contrapositive with it. So let's do it. For the converse, what order does converse need to be in? It needs to be in the form of if Q, then P. And we want to make sure our noun comes first. So let's see here. For the converse, if, remember we got to start with if, an angle is our noun, then we need our acute. If an angle is acute, then it measures 26 degrees. Okay, so then we have to ask ourselves, we need to get a truth value now. Is that true or false? So if an angle is acute, then it has to be 26 degrees. That is definitely false. No question about it. Definitely false. Okay, so now for the inverse. Inverse means if not P, then not Q. So if an angle does not measure 26 degrees, then it is not acute. So if it does not measure 26 degrees, then it is not acute. So let's say it measures 30 degrees. Is 30 degrees still acute? Sure. So then that means the statement's false, because it's saying it can be anything other than 26. If it does not measure 26, then it is not acute. That is false. Definitely false. And then we have the contrapositive. That one is if not Q, then not P. So I know by now, I have to start with if an angle. If an angle. And then I need my Q. If an angle is not acute, then it does not measure, what is it? 26 degrees. So if it's not acute, then it does not measure 26 degrees. That's true. It can't be 26 if it's not acute. So this is true. Okay, so now they give us another sentence, and we have to match the type of conditional with, match the statement with the type of conditional that it is. So here's our original. What I would recommend doing is figuring out on the original what's P and what's Q. So if two rays have a common endpoint, then they form an angle. Again, your if tells you that the hypothesis is coming up. So two rays have a common endpoint. That's our P. So then tells you your Q is coming up. They form an angle. There's your Q. Okay, so then let's see. I want to read these and figure out what's going on. If two rays do not have a common endpoint, what is that? That one, two rays do not have a common endpoint. That's not P. Then they do not form an angle. That's not Q. So which one has if not P, then not Q? You forgot, it's listed over here. If not P, then not Q. That's going to be your inverse. So this one is B. Okay, now let's look at the next one. If two rays do not form an angle, so we do not form an angle, that's not Q, then they do not have a common endpoint. That's not P. So if not Q, then not P. That's our contrapositive. This is going to be C. If two rays form an angle, there's our Q, then they have a common endpoint. There's our P. So if Q, then P. That's our converse. Okay, so now they give us a Venn diagram and ask us to get the hypothesis. Remember, on a Venn diagram, the small circle is always your P. Small circle is always your P. Big circle is always your Q. So it asks for the hypothesis in the Venn diagram. That would be football player. Hypothesis is your P. So this is going to be football player. 13, ask for the conclusion, which is your Q. That's athlete. That's all you had to do on this. You don't have to say if, you don't have to say then. You just look, P is football player. Hypothesis is football player, conclusion is athlete. That's it. And what we're testing there is, do you know how to read a Venn diagram? So that's our spill on conditional statements. Okay, now let's talk about parallel lines. Okay, so it says, given that R is parallel to S, what are the measures of the following angles? And I don't know why it says not multiple choice here, because these are all different problems, I guess, to make sure you don't say, oh, the answer is problem 14. No, they're all different problems. What I recommend is, before you even look at 2, 3, 6, and 8, these problems, take the 130 over here and figure out what all's going on. So they tell me R and S are parallel. That means all obtuse angles, I'm going to make a note of that down here. All obtuse angles are congruent, and all acute angles are congruent. So what that means is, if it looks like it's obtuse, then it is going to be congruent to each other. So this 6 right here, that's going to be 130 degrees. It's obtuse. This 3, it's going to be 130. This 2 is going to be 130. Okay, now let's look at the others. I got to figure out what the other angles are. Well, think about 3 and 5 together. These are same side interior angles. 3 and 5 are same side interior. What do same side interior angles have to equal? They have to equal 180 together. So 130 plus what gives you 180? Well, let's do that over here. 180 minus 30 minus 130 gives you 50 degrees. So this has to be 50 degrees. Well, if angle 5 is 50, that means angle 8 is 50. Angle 8 is 50. Angle 4 has to be 50. Angle 4 is 50. Angle 1 has to be 50. All the acute angles have to be the same. So now we found all the angles. It only asked us for 4 of them, but we found all of them. So now we can just run through. It says angle 2. Well, we already said angle 2 is 130 degrees. Angle 3, we said that's 130 degrees. Angle 6 is 130 degrees. And then that leaves us with angle 8. Angle 8 is 50 degrees. Okay, I'm not sure what they mean by what would the value of x need to be to make lines T and S parallel. Not sure what they're talking about here, in all honesty. Because there's no x in our picture. So here's what I want us to do. I want us to name the relationship between the angles. So 18, ask us about 2 and 7. 2 and 7. I'm going to do 18 in blue here. Are they on the same side? No. So that means they're automatically alternate something. These are alternate something. Are they on the inside or outside of our railroad tracks? They're on the outside. So these are exterior. These are alternate exterior angles. Okay, so number 19, ask us about angles 3 and 5. So are they on the same side of our transversal T? Yes, they are. Are they inside the railroad tracks or outside? Or is like one inside, one outside? They're both inside and they're on the same side. So this will be same side interior angles. We'll come back to 20. Let's go and do 21. 21. 21 asks us about 1 and 8. 1 and 8. Are they on the same side? No. So automatically these become alternate something. Are they both inside the railroad tracks or outside? They're outside. So these are alternate exterior angles. You know what? I'm going to change this one up. I'm going to change this one up. I'm going to change this 1 to a 4. I'm going to change this 1 to a 4. Why? Because I can. That's why. I want to do 1 and 4. I'm sorry, 8 and 4. 8 and 4. So what are 8 and 4? Are they on the same side or alternate sides? They're on the same side. Now, are they both within the railroad tracks? No, they're not. One's inside, but then the other's outside. So these are called corresponding. They're in the same spot, but it's like they're on different, one's on line S, one's on line R. But they're in the same corner. So these will be corresponding angles. Okay, and then the last one, 20. 20 is going to be 6 and 3. So are they on the same side of the transversal? No. So automatically, these are alternate something. Are they both inside the railroad tracks or are they outside? They're both inside. So these are alternate interior angles. Okie dokie. There's that great. So that's pretty much our extent, I believe, of, yep, that's our extent of parallel lines. And I'm going to fix our directions here. Wait, I don't want it right there. Come on. Hang on. Okay, so what did we do here? We identify the angle relationships. Okay, I got the directions good now. So we said, I don't know why they said not multiple choice up here. It's gone. And then this one, we're just classifying the angle pairs. So that one is now fixed. Okay, so for the next 4, they want us to identify the type of slope shown in the graph. We don't have to get the slope, we just have to get the type of slope. So when you do these, think of slope man. You want everything you do to be in agreement with slope man. If slope man ain't happy, nobody's happy. So let's remind ourselves what's or who slope man is. Well, he's not that creepy looking. So he's got a positive eye. Negative eye. His nose is our undefined line. And his mouth is the one with 0 slope. There we go. There's slope man. So this line's going up. If we look at slope man, that tells us it's a positive slope. So we say this one is positive. It's flat, just like his mouth. So this has 0 slope. This one goes down. The one that goes down is his negative eye. So this one is negative. And then this one's vertical, like his nose. So that starts with a U. Which one starts with a U? Undefined. So there's those. Yeah, for the next ones, we have to determine whether the lines are parallel, intersect, or coincide. So on these, parallel means they have the same slope, different y-intercept. Intersect means they have a different slope. And then coincide means they have the same slope. And they have the same y-intercept. Everything about them is the same. So let's look at 26. In order to do these, I need them in point slope form, not point slope, slope intercept form. They have to be in slope intercept form for this to work. So what do I need to do? Well, I need to move this 5x over. So subtract 5x. It's going to give me negative y equals negative 5x. Divide by negative 1. And I get y equals 5x. So now, look at our slopes. What do we notice about the slopes? I've got 5x, and then I have 1/5 x. Are these the same or are they different? These are different. So that means these have a different slope, which means that they intersect. Okay, so now let's look at 27. What do we notice on 27? We want to first start by looking at the slopes. That's a 1. That's a 1. So they have the same slope. But then let's look at the y-intercepts. That's -1. That's +8. So these have different y-intercepts. Which ones have the same slope but different y-intercept? That's parallel. And then we get down to this last one. First, look at your slope. 2 and 2. Oh, okay, those are the same. Now look at your intercept. -1 and -1. So they've got the same y-intercept also. Which one has the same everything? So those that coincide. Okay. So there's that one. Okay, 29. What's the equation of the line through 2, 4 with a slope of 1/2, and they want it in point slope form? Point slope form, remember that's the one that's y minus y1 equals your slope times x minus x1. So we want to see, do they give us all that we need? Well, slope 1/2, there's our m. They give us a point of 2, 4. There's x1, y1. Looks to me like we have everything we need. So we can plug in to get our answer. Let's see, y minus y1 is 4 equals our slope, which is 1/2, times x minus x1, which is 2. There's our answer. Okay, 30. Write the equation of the line through 0, 2 and -2, 8 in slope intercept form. That one's going to be our y equals mx plus b. So let's see here. I don't know my slope even. So I've got to find slope. Let's do it. x1, y1, x2, y2. So let's do our slope. It's going to be y2. So 8 minus y1. 8 minus 2 over -2 minus 0. It's going to be 6 over -2, which is -3. So my slope, and I can start doing my equation, y equals -3x. We got to stop. I got to figure out what b is. Okay, so pick a point. It can be any point. Pick a point, any point. I'm going to pick 0, 2 because, well, YOLO. I can. So I know I have my y here. That's going to be 2 equals -3 times 0 plus b. Well, -3 times 0 is just 0. So that means 2 equals b. Well, there's our b. B is 2. And we can always check using our other point. -3 times -2 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. That's what my other point is. -2, 8. So we're Gucci. Okay, 31. For 31 and 32, we have to find slope to determine whether the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So first they ask me about HJ. So I need H and I need J. I've got to find slope, so label my points, x1, y1, x2, y2. Get HJ. So my slope is 1 minus 2 over 4 minus 3. It's going to be negative 1 over 1, which is negative 1. Then I need the slope for Km. Km. So label our points, x1, y1, x2, y2. And get that slope. So negative 5 minus negative 4 over negative 1 minus negative 2. That's going to be, let's see, negative 1 over 1, just negative 1. Now I've got to compare my slopes. So for the first one, I got negative 1. For the second one, I got negative 1. So that means these are parallel. They're the same slope. Okay, let's look at 32. 32 asks us to do LM and NP. So LM, label your points, x1, y1, x2, y2. Let's see. That's going to be 5 minus 2 over 2 minus negative 2, which gives you 3 over 4. Okay, there's that slope. Now let's do NP. Label your points. Okay, so what do I have? I'm going to have negative 2 minus 2 over 3 minus 0. It's going to give me negative 4 over 3. Now, we've got to check our slopes here. That's 3/4. It's negative 4 over 3. Well, what do you notice? The fractions are flipped, and then one's positive and one's negative. These are opposite reciprocals. So that means these are perpendicular. Okay. There's that one. Now we've got to graph each line. So for this one, we have y equals negative 2. Well, what does this mean? Y equals negative 2. If it's just a number where it's y equals a number, that means our graph is going to be a horizontal line. And what slope does a horizontal line have? It's got 0 slope. So I'm going to start at my y-intercept, which is negative 2. So my point that I'll use is 0, negative 2. It'll put me a big old point at 0, negative 2 right there. And then it's just a horizontal flat line. Maybe I need to do this in another color other than black. Let's do red. There's my point. And then I'm just going to do a horizontal line. There we go. Okay, next one. X equals 2. Well, there's only one kind of line that starts with an X. It's one that's vertical. And if it's vertical, that tells us that our slope is undefined. So I need to start at 2, 0. That's where I'm going to put my point, at 2, 0. And then I'm going to draw a vertical line to the best of my ability. And there's that. And there's that line. I don't know why I did it in that color. It should be in red. There we go. Okay, so there's those two. Now for 35. This one is in slope intercept form, or y equals mx plus b. So what would my slope be? My slope is 1/2. The b is my y-intercept, so I'm going to start at 0, 3. So this 1/2 tells me I need to go up 1, right 2. So I'm going to go to 0, 3. Put me a big old Texas size point, and then go up 1, right 2. Up 1, right 2. I'm out of room, so I'm going to go the other direction to fill up my graph. And then I'm going to try my best to connect these points. Okay, there's my horrible attempt at a line. And hey, there we go. Okay, there's that line. Now, our next one, the last one, it's in point slope form. So this is the one that's in the form of y minus y1 equals our slope times x minus x1. So what's our slope? Our slope is -2. And then for the point, my x would be, well, these match up. X would be 4, y is 1. So I'm going to put a big point at 4, 1. In the wrong color, but there's going to be a point there. And then my slope, remember, -2 can be written as -2/1, which means I go down 2, right 1. So down 2, right 1. I'm already out of room. So I go the other way until I run out of graph. And then I try my best to connect them in a straight line. It's not perfect, but you know what? It's good. Okay, so with that, that's the end of our unit 3, or not unit 3, what am I talking about? Unit 5 review. So study it, know it, and good luck on your test. And also remember, you are awesome and you were created to do wonderful things. Always believe.